Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Dennis Smeltzer, president of TSANet. I'm going to turn this over to Paul. He's going to walk you through the update on TSANet Connect. We've had actually a lot of things going on here with TSANet Connect, and I don't want to steal Paul's thunder of what we're going to do, but he's going to walk you through some of the updates, what we've been doing, what we're currently in the process of doing, and where we're going. So we're going to walk through all of that with you, plus what we think is actually a pretty big announcement for us and the TSANet Connect platform in general. So let me just turn it over to Paul. If you've got questions throughout this, go ahead and put them in through the chat window, and we'll make sure that those questions get answered. And this is a session that's being recorded, so we'll make sure that it gets out to everybody. So, okay, Paul, it's all yours.
Great, thanks a lot, Dennis. So let me just kind of provide a little bit of background for those that might be new to TSANet Connect, and that is TSANet Connect, as we're kind of labeling it 1.0, actually did start back in 2018. It started after we put together a technology committee, and that was a group of members that we pulled together to really define what the first generation of the system would be. And we developed that system then in 2018. We spent really all of 2019 deploying the system. We'd phased away from the previous implementations. And then during 2020, as well as 2021, the focus has been on improving member adoption. So really working with members, making sure that they're using the system. If they have feedback as far as enhancements, et cetera, we were certainly doing that. So the system really, over the past 2 years, has really been refined and focused on the usage standpoint. The current functionality of the system really revolves around this connection process. So the committee, when we first put in place, it really wanted to make sure that the system was extremely simple to use and didn't really get in the way of the engineers then collaborating and working on the problem. So really, the intention was to make sure engineer A could connect with engineer B and then really kind of step out of the way and let them work on the problem. So that's what you see here. The process is very simple and straightforward. The sender goes to the platform, they find the member they want to work with. They're presented with a form, and these forms are very consistent through all the members, so it really makes it simple to use. On the receiver side, you can either connect with standard kind of email handshake, or we have the ability to do some API connections in your system. But basically, there's that simple handshake of receiving the request and acknowledging it. And at that point, both engineers know each other and they're working outside of TSANet Connect. So again, back to the very simple aspect for TSANet Connect 1.0. As far as usage goes, here is the list of the top users. As you can see here, kind of the usage in general is slanted towards these top users, especially the top 5, maybe the top 10. And we see a lot of commonality when we look at those members and what makes them successful with the platform, what makes them have the volume. The first is they tend to all have partner programs. They all have good awareness with their engineers, so they tend to have training sessions, talk about it, have key users, those types of things. And then they're also very customer experience focused. So they really, want to make sure the customer experience, even during multi-vendor support, is top notch. So that tends to drive usage here amongst these top users. And this is right around a year's worth of usage. Taking a look at the last 3 releases, we do have 4 different releases a year, and these releases aren't where you see all the functionality. For example, in June, it's functionality that really is delivered over a previous 3-month period. We do release, have the ability to release each week, but this is really what was in the scope of what we call the June release. And I highlight this ISO 27001. I'll talk about that later. That was an initiative that we started earlier in the year, was to get our ISO certification. I'll talk about that, but you'll see a lot of enhancements related to ISO 27001, which is really designed around increasing the reliability and the security of the system. So for example, you see things like, we moved to a different email service, we updated a bunch of software, we resolved issues, with passwords and things like that, yearly penetration testing, those types of things. So a lot of things related to ISO in this release. In the August release, same type of thing. You've got quite a few things here related to ISO, quite a few fixes. You can see here we added a hot standby site in Germany, for example, to enhance our disaster recovery process. We really made sure we've got encryption everywhere in the process, including backups, etc. Again, here you see now some quarterly system penetration testing, software patching, things like that. So again, all designed around improving the reliability and security of this system. And then currently we're working on the December release. So the December release, again, we've got quite a few upgrades that are taking place. The front end of the system, we have a new version of Vue.js, which I won't get into the technical aspects, but it's really a major part of the system. So that is being upgraded to a new major version. So a lot of testing and validation of the entire system with that. A few issues fixed along the way here. And then there's a couple that we're still work in progress. So we still have the month of November to work on these things. We've got quarterly system penetration testing and software patching. And then another thing that we're working on, this maybe just goes to show a little bit how the system still evolves a bit, is we're going to be doing an integration into Slack. So we have a member that wants to receive their collaboration requests into a Slack channel, and they want to respond via that way. So we'll be doing an enhancement to allow for that as well. So taking a look at the resources for admins, we've had a few updates that have taken place here. If you just go to this URL, you'll find all of these resources for your use. We've updated the TSANet Connect security. I'll talk a little bit about what some of the changes are there. We also updated the inbound best practices. So there's an update on that side. But I would say if you haven't gone to the resources, do take a look. There's quite a few resources to help you as an admin for TSANet Connect. So then the big news is ISO 27001 certification. We received the certification. It was a very long process, took a lot of time and effort. I don't know if there's anyone on this call that has ever gone through an ISO certification or even specifically ISO 27001. ISO 27001, just so you're aware of what that is, it really is the global standard as far as information security management, and it is much more than just validating that your system is secure. It's making sure that all of your processes, your controls, even HR processes on how you hire folks, background checks, all that type of stuff. So it is really very comprehensive as far as making sure that not only your system is secure, but the processes and people that are working on them are leveraging best practices for information security as well. It requires a lot of audits. We went through 4 audits. We went through a pre-cert, we went through an internal audit. The actual certification required 3 days of comprehensive audit. So this is not the type of thing where, they're just quick taking a glance over your processes. They're really digging in there and making sure that things are in place. And as far as, kind of why we did this, there's been a couple of members that have come back. And of course, our large members tend to have to do with SaaS type solutions where this has now become a top priority. So data security, they're writing it into their contracts. They need to make sure that every system they interact with is secure. So obviously ISO was important for them for TSANet Connect. And I think, like I said, this is the one that globally is viewed as the best practice. It's by far the most comprehensive one. And give you a sense here, I kind of highlighted the TSANet Connect. There's actually 143 controls that are in place, making sure that the system, the processes, the people, everything is working in a secure way. So Hopefully, you guys recognize it's definitely a big milestone for TSANet Connect and TSANet in general, and I think it will definitely help our members moving forward. So just to summarize here, where we currently are with TSANet Connect. I've used this slide as far as kind of going into the next phase of the system, which I'll talk about next. But I think this is a good kind of take a step back and see where we're at. From a feature standpoint, as I said before, the system was originally designed around very, very simple collaboration request process. So we made sure the system from a feature standpoint was very simple, to the point, did one thing and did one thing very well. It includes SLA informants and escalation process. So we have not only some automated processes in place to make sure that you get a response back, but we also have some processes that TSANet staff will monitor and get involved if things go wrong as well. The default is an email process, but you can request API connection. And just so you're aware there, we actually do interface to your target API system. So it's mostly development effort on our side and really not much work on your side. You just point us to the API that we have to use to hook into your system. We do have a very standard process form. There's ability to add custom fields, and some members have done that. But again, it's in a very structured way. So the benefit there is whenever an engineer goes to collaborate with a member, it's very consistent. So they're not sitting there dealing with a lot of different types of processes and forms. All the forms look exactly the same. We also built out a lot of partner program functionality, and I think that's been very successful. We have well over 800 members today as part of TSANet and TSANet Connect. And a lot of that was done with these partner programs, and we have several of them in the 100+ club now. So partner program functionality is certainly something that was big in the version 1.0. And then we also have single sign-on in place. We support the standard SAML 2.0. I think we now have about a dozen members that have connected with single sign-on. So if you're a large company, you have a lot of users, this is definitely something that makes it easier to use the system and onboard your engineers. So if you don't have single sign-on in place today and you want to take a look at that, please reach out to me. From a metric standpoint, we've got about 800+ members that are connected into TSANet Connect. We're down now to 3 members that are still with this legacy static process, and we're working with them. We run about 100 collaborations per month. If you take a look at who uses the system, and this is going to be a major initiative as we go forward, majority of premium members are using the system. When you get into basic members, we start to see some falling off as far as usage. About half of our basic members are using the system, the other half are not. And when we say use the system, they've had a collaboration in the last 6 months. And then we have our lowest level of membership, which is limited members. And there's actually a small percentage of those that are using, and that's certainly something that we want to improve on as well. And then when it gets into the SLA, we're currently running about 15% SLA exceptions. So we do monitor and track this. So those are collaboration requests that have triggered off some type of an escalation process. And again, some of them are resolved right away. Others we have to get involved. Some of them are things where, hey, missed the escalation because critical information wasn't provided. So say the member's form required you to enter a serial number, say that serial number was incorrect, or maybe it wasn't linked to a support contract, that can delay and cause an SLA exception as well. So those are the types of things that we work through. And then as far as the system goes, it's been extremely reliable. We've had 99.99% uptime, so very, very few outages. And as I said before, we're now ISO 27001 certified, and we do 4 releases per year. So that's a good current state as far as the system goes. Okay, so now moving into TSANet Connect version 2.0. So this is the next major version of the system. It is planned to cover the next 2 years of our roadmap. So 2022 and 2023 will basically be the year of version 2.0. And just like before, we've put together a TSANet Connect 2.0 committee. So we want to make sure that the members are really involved in figuring out what do we do next with a system. So like I said before, this committee is going to help design the next major version of TSANet Connect. It'll be developed and deployed during 2022 and 2023. You can see who's involved with the committee. So quite a few of our large members are involved, members that hopefully can also contribute to helping design, kind of the next generation of collaboration and things for all the members. So this is the committee. We just started it here. Had our first meeting in October. We'll have monthly meetings that will go through January. And you can see here the timeline. So we put together the committee in September. During the month of October, we had a SWOT analysis with the committee. We've also, just so you know, we've had SWOT analysis for all of the regional focus groups, the board of directors, TSANet staff. So we've really kind of received a lot of feedback from all aspects of the membership as far as current state. And then moving into November, we're going to be taking a look at the various features that we want to add, and I'll share with you a little bit some of the scope that will take. In the month of December, we'll take a look at technology, and then the month of January, we'll take a look at etching that into a roadmap and plans. And then, like I said, this is going to drive the next version, we'll call it 2.0 here, that will take place through 2022 and 2023. And it'll be a combination of some technology enhancements as well as feature enhancements along the way. Just spending a little bit of time on the features that we are going to take a look at. And hopefully you'll get a sense of kind of where the team will be digging into. And then certainly if you've got some feedback in any of these areas, love to hear from you. Certainly can hook you into the committee as well to provide some input. But this first area is for improving usage. And what the committee is going to really take a look at is focusing on the engineers that are really using the system. How can we get the TSANet Connect system and process more in the workflow for the engineers' outbound collaboration? This could take the place of maybe some better integration into the CRM systems. Maybe a better place is within some collaboration tools such as Slack or Microsoft Teams. So we'll be taking a more detailed look at the workflow and how we can make it more appropriate for the engineer. And then the second thing we're going to be taking a look at is how can we expand the scope of usage. I think one piece of feedback that we got both from the regional focus groups as well as TSANet Connect is the TSANet Connect collaboration, which is post-sale support for a common customer that is under support for both parties, is kind of restricted. And there might be some other use cases involved. So it could be that a member has a support agreement with another partner. Maybe it's support to engineering. Maybe one member is taking frontline support and escalating backline support. Maybe there's just a technology relationship where they have technology questions. So I think we can be supporting a lot of other use cases on the system. We'll be taking a look at that. And then there is a pilot that's been taking place in India for engineer knowledge exchange. And this has been in the form of 30-minute really short webinars that deep dive into some piece of technology discussion around multi-vendor support. So it could be, for example, I'll give you some examples here. Red Hat did one on how to analyze core dumps. VMware did one on how to use their debug tools in a multi-vendor environment. So these are things that will help all members specific to different technologies and products that are kind of top of mind as far as multi-vendor collaboration. Then we'll be taking a look at improving inbound processes. I would say that this will be a lot in the areas of, first of all, improving this initial response options. So we have had some issues where there might be exceptions around the initial response. So for example, maybe it's missing some piece of information and a member would like to do the initial response, but then ask for that clarification of a serial number or some piece of information. So enhancing that response option, and then more integration. So we'll be taking a look at some of the top systems and how we can do some better integration there. The third one is post-connection collaboration. As I indicated, version 1 of the system was designed to be very simple, and it was designed to be very simple so we could bring on 100% of the members onto a single platform. So I think that was really a wise decision, and we've accomplished that. But now certainly some members may want to look at advanced functionality where maybe after the collaboration is made, they can continue to communicate through the TSANet Connect platform. So we'll be looking at some possible ways of doing that, maybe allowing members to opt in. Not too certain what technology or what path we'll take there, but certainly an area we're going to be taking a look at. And then partner programs is the fourth area. I think here, again, we've had a lot of success with partner programs, and we want to build on that. So one thing we'll be taking a look at is custom onboarding process. So a lot of members, they use TSANet Connect, they onboard their partners, but they kind of have two different onboarding. They have the TSANet Connect onboarding, and then they do some activities outside of our platform. So we want to look at, is there some things we can do that customize and allow them to have more of a seamless experience there. And then we have some members that have communicated that maybe they don't have a formal partner program, but they just want to invite a company or two in, right? So maybe they're strategic partners, or maybe it's an ad hoc collaboration. So we plan to make it very, very easy for you to invite partners in to work with you. So those are the four things we'll be taking a look at. And rolling off into the next steps, and we'll open it up for some questions. As kind of taking a look between now and the end of the year, we're continuing to work with these 3 members on the static process. I'm really hoping to get down to hopefully only 1 as we exit the year. So we've got a couple that we're getting pretty close with to convert over. We'll continue to hold regional training sessions for support engineers. Back in the admin resources, you'll see a link for that. So in addition to recorded sessions, we do also have time zone specific sessions that we'll be having here. We usually have them each month, so we'll be setting up some new ones here for the month of November. You can also request a specific session if you feel that you want to do that. You can simply reach out to me. And then the last couple of things is really related to the committee. So you can see here we got a few more meetings before the end of the year. Plan to get as much feedback and input as we can. And then making sure that we exit this year, or we're starting to define the budgets and the roadmaps for 2022 and 2023. So busy a couple months here before we end the year, but I think we'll be in good shape here moving into 2022 with the next version of the system. And hopefully here, as we exit this year, we'll start to communicate some of the details on what that will be. So I'm going to hold here and see if there are any questions.
Okay, thanks, Paul. And why don't you give yourself a little bit of a break on your voice here for a minute? A couple of things. I just want to summarize one thing, right? I mean, we've talked about this 2.0 committee and all that, and I think everybody on this call understands it, right? But because we're set up as a not-for-profit and association for the industry, right, it really does give us a unique opportunity to be able to come in and develop this to help yourself as well as the entire industry, right? And that's what we're doing with this committee. I think you can see what we've done here is we've taken the TSANet Connect platform, we've got it out, we've got it working now. So the next iteration, right, is really important to us, is to take it to that next step. Being involved in all the SWATs that Paul was referring to that we did throughout the world, I will tell you one of the things that came out of it that we saw when we focused in on the technology, the TSANet Connect platform, was to simply increase the call volume, which Paul mentioned, but to do that, make it a better part of the workflow, right? So we're going to, I mean, you mentioned several of the things that to do that. And I'm assuming, Paul, if they want to get involved in the committee or even just be updated as to what's going on, I'm sure we'll be putting out some blogs and stuff. You want them to just email you? Is that what you prefer?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just shoot me an email. Let me know kind of the level of involvement. Happy to add you into one of the sessions, or like I said, just add you onto the updates. And maybe you have certain area you want to focus in on. So if you're really passionate about partner programs or really want to talk about the post connection collaboration, let me know what you're most interested in providing input on as well.
Okay, and we've done some things, developed a system to where I wouldn't know we can do automatic responses and custom email templates and things like that that go back to the member that started to do the integration. Do have something here, and this happens to be from Nutanix, that they want to know more about the proposed Slack integration. I know we're very beginning stages of that, right? So. But we can make a point to get him updated on where we go with the Slack integration, Paul.
Yeah, definitely. And just so you know, the member that we're doing that with is Salesforce or Tableau. So obviously they own Slack, so they're going to be helping us out with that. And the idea is they would like that to be the input. So they'll be bringing the request into a Slack channel, and then from Slack they actually integrate into their Salesforce. So it'll be very kind of interesting what we develop there, but certainly we'll make that available, maybe a white paper enhancing the inbound best practices. But I'll take a note here to reach out to Nutanix on that as well.
Okay, very good. I don't have anything else. A great presentation, a lot of data there that Paul mentioned, and because I was in the middle of it, this 27001, right, was a big step for us, and but we're hoping that now that we've passed that mark and have that data security certificate, that there won't be any barriers, or at least it will take down some of the barriers that companies may have had into using us. So you can see we're certainly, I think, headed in the right direction for where we're going, and we'll keep everybody updated as to what's going on. And again, whether it's partner programs you're interested in, whether it's the 2.0 committee or just TSANet Connect general, reach out to myself or Paul. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. So I think that's it, Paul. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the presentation. Thank you everybody for joining in today, and we'll be in touch soon.